Welcome back to Story Explained. Today, we're diving into the mysterious horror thriller movie No Escape Room. What starts as a fun father and daughter activity quickly turns into a terrifying nightmare filled with supernatural forces, deadly puzzles, and a house that refuses to let anyone leave. So sit back, relax, and let's find out what happens in No Escape Room.
The story begins with a man who sets out on a weekend trip with his daughter. He wants to make her happy and spend some quality time together. However, his daughter, Karen, is upset with him about something and spends the entire journey staring silently out the window. Her father tries to cheer her up by talking to her and making jokes, hoping to make the short trip memorable. But during the journey, their car suddenly breaks down. As a result, they are forced to stop in a small nearby town. They leave the car at an old garage for repairs. While waiting, they go to a hotel across the street and order some food. Karen's father suggests that instead of sitting around, they should find a fun activity to do while the car is being repaired. He picks up a newspaper and starts looking for interesting places to visit. He suggests several options to Karen, but she rejects every one of them. Then he notices an advertisement for an escape room. He explains that an escape room is a game in which participants are locked inside a room. To get out, they must solve puzzles, riddles, and various challenges. Karen immediately becomes interested. She tells her father that some of her friends have played a similar game and had a great time. Excited by the idea, she says she wants to try it as well. Her father calls the waitress over and asks about the escape room. For a moment, the waitress becomes serious and says, "Don't go there. Nobody who enters ever comes back." Hearing this, Karen and her father exchange nervous glances. The atmosphere suddenly becomes tense. A moment later, the waitress laughs and reveals that she was only joking. She assures them that it is a fun attraction that many people enjoy. Relieved, they decide to visit the escape room. Meanwhile, Karen goes to the washroom after accidentally getting something on her clothes. As soon as she steps inside, the lights begin to flicker. The washroom falls into an unsettling silence. Then she hears strange noises coming from a nearby stall, as if someone is trying to open the door from the inside. Her heartbeat quickens. Feeling uneasy, she slowly walks toward the stall. Just as she is about to open the door, the waitress suddenly steps out from it. At that moment, Karen hears her father calling her name and quickly leaves. Soon after, they rent a car and head toward the escape room's location. As they continue along the road, the surroundings become increasingly isolated. Eventually, they arrive at a place where complete silence fills the air. The building standing before them creates an unsettling impression. Its walls are cracked, the paint is peeling away, and it looks as though it has been abandoned for years. They step inside. Karen's father calls out loudly, "Is anyone here?" For a few seconds, there is no response. Then, a young woman appears and greets them with a slight smile. "Welcome. I'm the host of this game," she says. She guides them into a room. Inside, 3 other participants are already waiting, ready to take part in the challenge. One of the women introduces herself and says, "My name is Melanie, and I'm here with my husband. He didn't really want to come, but I convinced him to join me." Another participant introduces himself and reveals that he is a doctor. Short time later, the host brings everyone a strange-looking tea. The drink releases thick steam and has an unusual aroma. Karen's father feels suspicious about it and initially stops Karen from drinking it. However, after seeing everyone else drink it without concern, he decides to have some as well. The host then places several agreement forms in front of the group and asks them to sign. The document states that everyone is participating voluntarily and that they accept responsibility for any risks involved. After collecting the signed papers, the host takes away everyone's mobile phones. She explains that these are part of the game's rules. No one is allowed to contact the outside world or record videos inside the building. She then switches on a projector and begins playing a video. The video tells the story of an inventor who carried out unusual experiments and created many remarkable inventions. According to the story, he also built the mysterious house they are now visiting. Since then, strange incidents have reportedly taken place within its walls. Several people supposedly entered the house to uncover its secrets, but none of them were ever seen again. After the video ends, the host explains the rules of the challenge. Each room contains a hidden key. The door to the next room can only be opened once that key is found. To locate the key, participants must solve puzzles and uncover clues hidden throughout the room. She also informs them that the entire game lasts only 1 hour. If anyone feels overwhelmed and wants to leave, they only need to say the code word, "weekend," and they will be escorted out. As soon as she finishes speaking, the lights suddenly go out. A few moments later, Melanie finds a small lamp nearby and switches it on. By that time, the host has completely disappeared. Then, all the doors in the room automatically shut. Panic immediately spreads across the group. Everyone begins searching the room, carefully inspecting every corner, shelf, and object. They hope to discover a clue that will help them find the hidden key. The room is filled with strange antiques and unusual decorative items. Feeling nervous, Melanie's husband says, "What kind of situation have we gotten ourselves into? I have no idea when we'll get out of here." Melanie tries to calm him down. "It's only for an hour," she says. "Don't worry so so much. Focus on the clues and we'll get through this. While searching, Karen discovers an old cassette tape. The doctor finds a way to play it. A strange song begins playing, repeatedly mentioning the names of different animals. The group listens carefully and starts looking for connections between the lyrics and the objects around them. Before long, they discover several animal masks hidden throughout the room. Following the order suggested by the song, Karen places the masks in their correct positions. As soon as the final mask is set in place, a small compartment in the wall suddenly opens. Inside, they find a safe secured with a numerical lock. Now, their next challenge is to discover the correct number combination. Meanwhile, Melanie's husband picks up a snake mask and places it over his face. Only a few seconds later, he begins to feel a strange sensation spreading through one of his hands. He suddenly notices something that looks like tiny snakes moving beneath his skin. At the same time, he catches sight of a woman's shadow standing nearby. The terrifying sight shocks him. Panicking, he quickly removes the mask and says in a trembling voice that something must have been mixed into the tea. He insists that what he is seeing cannot be normal. The doctor tries to calm him down and explains that everything in this place is designed to play tricks on the mind. He picks up a lamp nearby and switches it on. As soon as the light shines on the mask, several hidden numbers become visible. Everyone immediately realizes that the numbers must be a clue. They enter the numbers into the safe's lock. The safe clicks open at once. Inside, they find a key. Using the key, they unlock the next door and move into another room. The moment they step inside, the door behind them automatically shuts. A timer mounted on the wall shows that only 50 minutes remain. This room feels even stranger than the previous one. Old clocks are scattered everywhere. Unusual machines fill the room, and their constant noises create an unsettling atmosphere. Melanie notices a large antique telephone and picks up the receiver. As she begins speaking, she hears her own voice coming back through the phone. She tells the others that the voice sounds exactly like hers. Then the voice on the other end tells her to let her husband speak. At first he refuses. However, after everyone encourages him, he reluctantly takes the receiver. A voice immediately warns him, "Leave this place now or your life could be in danger." The message terrifies him. As he tries to put the phone down, he notices what appears to be tiny insects crawling across the receiver. A moment later, he feels as though blood is pouring from his ears. Overcome by fear, he shouts, "I can't stay here anymore. This place is driving me crazy." The others try to convince him that everything is part of the experience and meant to create fear, but he refuses to listen. He rushes to the door and shouts the exit code. Within seconds, the door opens. An attendant escorts him out, and the door closes again behind him. After he leaves, the doctor admits that he is also uncomfortable and wants to leave. Melanie stops him and reminds him that it is only a game. She tells him they can all leave once the challenge is over. Meanwhile, Karen's father discovers an old typewriter. He calls everyone over to take a look. At the same time, Karen notices a stopped clock frozen at 10:12. Nearby, she finds a radio and adjusts its settings to match the time shown on the clock. Suddenly, an elderly man's voice begins speaking through the radio. Karen carefully listens and repeats everything she hears. Her father types the words onto the typewriter. After some time, they uncover another clue that points to the time 11:55. Karen adjusts the stopped clock and sets it to 5 minutes before midnight. As soon as the clock reaches the correct position, a hidden mechanism activates. Their puzzle is solved and a key drops out from a concealed compartment. The group quickly tests the key on several doors around the room. None of the doors open. However, the key finally unlocks a storage cabinet in one corner. The moment the cabinet door swings open, a horrible, rotten smell fills the room. Several old clothes are hanging inside. The odor is so strong that standing near the cabinet becomes difficult. Curious, Karen carefully steps forward to look inside. Suddenly, something grabs her hand from within the darkness. Karen suddenly panics. Standing inside the cupboard is the game host. She appears badly injured. A knife is lodged in her stomach, and blood is visible on her clothes. In a trembling voice, she warns them that the inventor has entered the house. She says he is unstable and capable of harming anyone who crosses his path. The host urges Karen to find the master key and escape as quickly as possible. She warns that if they fail, the situation could become much worse. The moment she finishes speaking, the cupboard door suddenly slams shut again. The shocking sight leaves everyone terrified. However, Melanie does not take it seriously. She assumes it is all part of the attraction. Smiling, she praises the performance and says it looked incredibly realistic. Hearing this, Karen's father loses his patience. He insists that it was not an act. Everything felt far too real. He declares that he wants the game to end immediately. He pounds on the door and demands to be let out. Melanie tries to calm him down, but he refuses to listen. No matter how loudly he shouts, no one responds. The door remains firmly shut. At that moment, everyone realizes that they may be genuinely trapped. The attacker who injured the host could actually be somewhere inside the building. After searching the room again, they discover there is no key to unlock the exit. There seems to be only one possible way out. Above the door is a small window-like opening. Only someone small and agile could squeeze through it. Karen is the only person capable of doing so. She volunteers to go. Her father immediately objects. But after repeated discussion, he reluctantly agrees. With help from her father and the doctor, Karen climbs up and manages to squeeze through the opening. She reaches the other side safely. Once there, she tries opening several nearby doors. Everyone one of them is locked. Then she notices the shadow of a young girl moving through the hallway. The girl silently gestures for Karen to follow her. Unsure of what else to do, Karen follows. Meanwhile, her father keeps calling out her name from the other side. When he receives no response, his anxiety grows. Desperate, he grabs a heavy wooden object and tries to break down the door, but the door is far too strong. It does not move at all. At the same time, the mysterious girl leads Karen into a dark room. The instant Karen steps inside, the door closes behind her automatically. At that exact moment, another door opens in the area where her father, Melanie, and the doctor are standing. They begin to realize that the entire house is connected through a complex system of rooms and passages. Whenever one door closes, another seems to open elsewhere. The mysterious girl continues motioning for Karen to follow. Although frightened, Karen keeps moving forward. Eventually, the girl leads her to a strange area that resembles an abandoned laboratory. Broken equipment and unusual machines are scattered throughout the room. The place looks as though experiments were once conducted there. Suddenly, a voice echoes through the darkness. "Find the master." Karen freezes and looks around nervously. As she searches the room, she notices what appears to be a body lying on a table beneath a cloth. It looks as though it was once part of an experiment. Gathering her courage, she slowly pulls away the cloth. The sight beneath it makes her scream. The condition of the body is horrifying. Meanwhile, Karen's father, Melanie, and the doctor continue searching for her. They rush through corridor after corridor, but the building is like a maze. No matter which path they choose, they cannot seem to find Karen. The doors continue opening and closing on their own. Meanwhile, Karen carefully moves deeper into the building. To her shock, the body she saw earlier has suddenly disappeared. When she enters the next room, she finds a skeleton lying on the floor. At that moment, she hears strange and frightening sounds echoing through the darkness. The noises sound like someone growling nearby. Terrified, Karen immediately runs into another room and slams the door behind her. Moments later, loud bangs begin striking the door. Shaking with fear, she hides inside a small wall compartment that resembles a storage space. Within seconds, the person making the terrifying noises enters the room. At the same time, a nearby door opens for Karen's father, Melanie, and the doctor. They quickly step through it. As soon as they enter, the door closes behind them. Inside, they discover a projector and another timer mounted on the wall. The timer shows that only 35 minutes remain. This suggests that the challenge is somehow still continuing. Frustrated and worried about his daughter, Karen's father angrily switches off the projector. He says he no longer cares about the game. Finding Karen is now his only priority. Meanwhile, Karen finds herself trapped in an even more dangerous situation. A motionless body lies only a short distance away. At the same time, the mysterious figure with the frightening voice is somewhere in the room. The atmosphere becomes almost unbearable. Then to her horror, the body suddenly begins to move. It appears as though it has come back to life. Fear overwhelms Karen. She starts feeling weak and dizzy. Elsewhere, the doctor discovers a locked box with a numerical code. It is obvious that they must find the correct combination hidden somewhere in the room. While searching for clues, Karen's father briefly enters an adjoining area. As he looks around, a shadow silently passes behind him. None of them notice it. Back in her hiding place, Karen watches in terror as the moving body slowly stretches an arm toward her. Her breathing becomes shallow. In a barely audible voice, she whispers, "Help, help." Meanwhile, the doctor continues searching for clues to open the numbered box. Suddenly, he remembers seeing numbers written on a ceiling fan when they first entered the room. He suspects those numbers might be the code. The problem is that the fan is too high to read clearly. They try to use the projector's light to illuminate it. However, the projector cannot be moved. Then they notice a mirror nearby. The doctor comes up with an idea. They direct the projector's light onto the mirror and reflect it toward the fan. The numbers immediately become visible. Without wasting any time, they enter the code into the box. The lock clicks open. Inside, they discover another key. The key unlocks the next door. Karen's father and the doctor quickly move forward through the newly opened passage. Melanie, however, remains behind. Something unusual catches her attention. A video is playing on the projector screen. To her surprise, the footage appears to show her own actions. She watches herself repeatedly returning to the same room again and again. At first, she assumes it is some kind of pre-recorded trick, but the situation becomes increasingly strange. Every time she attempts to leave, she somehow ends up back in the same place. It feels as though she is trapped in an endless cycle. Unaware of what is happening to Melanie, Karen's father continues searching for his daughter. As he moves through the corridors with the doctor, his frustration boils over. Furious, he begins blaming the doctor for encouraging them to continue deeper into the house instead of finding a way out. Karen's father becomes increasingly suspicious of the doctor. He accuses him of being involved in everything that has happened. The doctor immediately becomes angry and denies the accusation. He insists that he has nothing to do with the events inside the house. Meanwhile, Melanie remains trapped in the strange time loop. As she wanders through the room, she discovers her husband's lifeless body. The horrifying sight leaves her devastated. She realizes that he was never rescued. Instead, he met a tragic fate inside the building. The discovery completely breaks her spirit. At the same time, the moving body hidden near Karen slowly reaches toward her. The hand comes dangerously close. Just then, the door suddenly opens. The doctor rushes into the room and quickly pulls Karen to safety. The door closes behind them moments later. As soon as she escapes, Karen breaks down in fear. Trying to catch her breath, she asks where her father is. The doctor admits that he does not know. Karen immediately becomes suspicious. She reminds him that the game host warned her about the inventor returning to the house. According to the warning, the inventor wanted to harm everyone inside. Karen points out that the mysterious figure somehow knew exactly where she was hiding. She finds it strange that the doctor arrived alone to rescue her without bringing her father. Because of this, she begins to suspect him. The doctor quickly defends himself. He explains that he heard her cries for help and followed the sound. He insists that everything happening inside the building is part of an elaborate setup. According to him, the challenge will end soon and everyone will be released. Elsewhere, Melanie hears the old telephone ringing
Once again. She nervously picks up the receiver. To her shock, she hears her own voice speaking from the other side. Without thinking, she says, "Put my husband on the line." When he speaks, she urgently warns him to leave before something terrible happens. At that moment, Melanie finally understands what is happening. The same events are repeating over and over again. She is trapped in a never-ending cycle. It feels as though different versions of herself exist at the same time. The past, present, and future seem to overlap. The voice she once believed belonged to someone else was actually her own future self. That future version had already experienced everything and was trying to change the outcome. But no matter what she did, the cycle continued. Now the future she once heard has become her present reality. She realizes she may never escape the loop. As she struggles to process the truth, she begins sensing another presence nearby. Strange sounds echo through the walls. Fear quickly takes hold. Desperate to escape, she climbs a wooden ladder standing in the room. Halfway up, part of the ladder suddenly breaks. Melanie loses her balance and falls. She crashes onto a table below. The impact proves fatal, and her story comes to a tragic end. Meanwhile, Karen and the doctor continue searching for a way out. While examining the room, Karen discovers several old papers scattered across a table. One of the notes contains a disturbing message. It reads, "Object inside the stomach." They realize the clue suggests that the item they need is hidden inside a body. After searching further, the doctor discovers a small tunnel secured with a lock. To open it, they still need a key. Looking around the room, the doctor's attention falls on an old toilet. He suspects the missing key may be hidden there. Reluctantly, he gathers his courage and reaches inside. A moment later, his hand touches something unexpected. The object feels like a human hand. Startled and horrified, he immediately jerks his arm back and stumbles away from the toilet. Now Karen steps forward. Gathering her courage, she reaches inside and pulls out the severed hand. After examining it closely, she realizes that it is fake. Relieved, she reaches inside again. This time she finds a key. Without wasting a moment, she unlocks the small tunnel. She and the doctor immediately crawl inside, hoping it will finally lead them out of the nightmare. Karen moves ahead while the doctor follows behind. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the darkness and attacks the doctor from behind. Before he can react, he is dragged away into the shadows. Within seconds, his screams echo through the tunnel. The horrifying cries suggest that he has met a terrible fate. Meanwhile, Karen continues forward. As events unfold, it becomes clear that time in this place does not work normally. Many of the strange events seem connected through repeating cycles, where the past and future overlap in unexpected ways. Soon, Karen hears her father's voice calling for her. Following the sound, she finds her way out. A short time later, father and daughter are reunited. To their surprise, everything outside appears completely normal. It is as if nothing strange ever happened. The town looks peaceful. The hotel stands exactly as it did before. Excited, Karen points toward their vehicle and says, "Dad, our car is fixed." They quickly walk over and climb inside. Karen's father reaches for the keys. However, something immediately catches his attention. The car door is covered with several unusual locks. These are not normal locks. They look strange, complicated, and unsettling. At that moment, a chilling realization strikes him. The nightmare may not be over. Although they escaped a mysterious house, they may still be trapped inside a much larger game. To leave the town, they might have to solve even more puzzles. There may be no true escape at all. The possibility dawns on him that he could remain trapped in an endless cycle, just like the people who came before. This is the reason behind the title, No Escape Room. Once someone becomes part of the game, escaping completely may be impossible. The people who entered before them appear to have faced the same fate. Everything seems to have been part of a terrifying experiment created by the mysterious inventor. He transformed the location from a simple puzzle challenge into a deadly trap. According to the story's mystery, those who perish there never truly leave. Their presence remains connected to the house. The inventor's spirit is said to continue wandering through the rooms, waiting for new victims. With every new arrival, the nightmare grows larger. And with that final twist of suspense and horror, the story comes to an end.